You just pressed play on the Last Breath Huntcast, home of the HUNTROVERSY. We're here to entertain, educate, and engage. And in case you didn't know, you only live once. But if you do it right, once is enough. Don't waste it. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode number 76 of the Last Breath Huntcast, home of the HUNTROVERSY. Happy 2021. Thank God 2020 is over. That year was very stressful on a lot of Americans, a lot of families, really just everybody other than the super wealthy. And I guess if you're a wealthy business owner in America, then you took a hit as well. So it really kind of sucked for literally everyone involved. So we got through that crap. We're on to 2021, and Garrett is right here with me.
Hello. I mean, going on that, you're right. It was a struggle, but it's funny. You talked, like my wife and I were talking everything, and yes, it's a new year. You know, there's new goals. There's some of the old same goals, but it's like, come on, people. You got to keep pushing and grinding. It's just not like, oh, 2020 is over. All that is behind us. Yeah. But I do think that we're heading to greener pastures. So, you know, just stay positive, keep your head up, keep pushing, and yeah, I don't know. We're talking about something interesting today. Take your mind off of 2020 or 2021.
That's right.
If you're like most of my friends, you recovered this weekend. We had a glorious back-to-back, like 3-day weekends. We had Christmas on Friday and then New Year's on Friday. So if any of you guys are like-minded like us and potentially overindulged a little bit on Friday or Saturday night, don't worry. You had a Savior Sunday. You got to rest up, and well, now it's Monday and you're back to work, and Mondays after a 3-day weekend always just kind of suck a little bit more. That's the other thing we were talking about. It's like, man, we've had like 2 weeks back to back. We had short weeks because it was like 3.5 days each
Christmas week.
Yeah, and then last week too. And now it's like, man, we got to go work for all 5. What? Shock to the system.
Yep. So before we get into that, on the note of kind of the new year, what is one personal goal or resolution you have, and what is one hunting goal or resolution that you have for the new year? What do you want to accomplish? Give me one of each, personal and hunting.
Wow. I usually write these down on my dry erase board. I haven't done that yet, because really our season hasn't ended yet, but I'll answer it to the best of my ability. So a little bit of side information for the listeners here. We really kind of at Last Breath run our fiscal year from like February 1st to February 1st. And the reason being is most of hunting seasons end in like late January. And typically like this week we would actually be at the ATA show, considering that was canceled this year. We do a lot of our business side of the media content thing this week and next week. So it just makes sense to like, boom, or February 1. But anyway, my goal personally, one of my big ones for this upcoming year is the only debt structure to have for my wife and I is our home. So we're going to pay off her car, going to pay off her student loans, and then we're good. And then we just got to tackle the house. So that's a arduous goal that we're going to try to accomplish. And then the next question, like the hunting goal, I don't know. That's a difficult one because for me personally, I guess it would say to put either of us in position to arrow TJ or Hope next year. We've done such a good job of like staying off that place. We put so much work into a farm that we love. I mean, it's like a part of us. And next year we will finally be back into that age structure of where there will be guaranteed 5.5-year-old bucks specifically to hunt.
Multiple.
So it was really cool. We got to see TJ this weekend with Alan. Filmed him. God, he's gorgeous. Alan Yates, if you're listening to this, he's like, dude, you guys are crazy. Like, you tell me you're not even gonna hunt this. You're like, no, man. We want him to feel so safe, and like this is the best place in the world. So those are my 2 goals. I want, hopefully my wife and I, if we can make it work, the only debt we'll have is our home at the end of this year, and then next year for hunting season. I really do hope that's probably number one goal for me, is that we can get ourselves in position to draw back and release a carbon meat missile at either of those deer. So what about you? What are your two goals?
Stretch goal of your hunting goal as well. Stretch goal of we kill TJ and Hope. I hope we can kill one of them before the dominant one of them that wants to take hold of the farm takes hold and bumps the other off. Because we did have one of those deer go on a hiatus for about 4 weeks on us this year. And it was right around the time where deer get squirrely. So we thought he was going off and getting himself killed. So I would really hope that we can slip an arrow. I hope we get a generous amount of cold fronts, and by generous amount I mean 2. I want 2 cold fronts before October 23rd next year, because I feel if we can kill one of those deer before that time in the first 3 weeks of season, then we will be able to catch up with the other one during the rut, because he has not been pushed off. So that's my goal, is to kill both those deer as a stretch goal. Maybe pick a buck up during our rutcation again. And then personally, my personal goal is to see Last Breath TV have 20,000 subscribers on YouTube by February of 2022. So that's my goal. So last year we went from 700 to just below 5K now. So if we can multiply that by a scale factor of 7 again, 5, 7 again, then that would make me pretty happy. But I think a realistic goal is 20,000. I just think we have to have some videos that pop, and I'm trying to understand and learn how to make that happen more and more. So if we could get to a position of that size, and with our media creation that we do on the side, as well as our stuff that we're going to be doing on Amazon Prime, I feel like we will have the money to hire a full-time employee that will be able to work on all the stuff that I work on. And going forth in 2022, he can just, we can have him do that, and then all we have to do is hunt. So that would be, that's my goal.
We definitely have the video. I mean, this has been a stellar year. I know we want to get into the Huntroversy, but recapping our 2020 season, I would say this way back when. It feels forever ago that we were literally hunting turkeys. But we had a pretty good turkey season. It wasn't our best by any stretch of the imagination, but it definitely wasn't our worst year. We had a couple hiccups here and there, but we still have some awesome hunts. Yep. I mean, me and you reaped every bird that we killed.
Yeah.
So that's really cool and unique in itself. Matt and Jesse got it done as well. We look into hand fishing. Hand fishing, they did pretty darn good this year. And then when you get into really the fall of it, I recorded Chris's elk hunt. So that's going to be, it's a monster elk eating a 338 Lapua round. Then you get into deer season, and realistically, this is the only year that all of our bucks have been killed with archery equipment.
Yeah, none with firearms.
Not a one. Not that we didn't try either.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, we gun hunted the shit out of them. But, just it worked out to where you bucked out with a bow. I shot a beautiful deer with a bow. Matt bucked out with a bow. Jesse shot one with a bow. Allie shot hers with a bow. There's just
got the elk, got the mule deer trip,
and that's what I was just going to wrap it up with. Then we have the late season where you and Jake went out and Nebraska DIY.
Alan shot a deer.
Yep. Alan shot his first doe. So we've got quite the roster for the guys and gals that follow our channel just to soak it up.
Yeah. Absolutely. So before we get into the Huntroversy, this is just a reminder that if you guys would like to listen to a new episode of the Huntcast, it's available on Spotify, iTunes, Libsyn, all those things on Monday morning. Or you can wait till the following day and watch this podcast on our YouTube channel. If you could go subscribe to that would be awesome, and you'd be doing us a huge favor. A Huntroversy is what we're doing today. So this is indeed the home of the Huntroversy, and for all the new listeners out there, a Huntroversy is simply a debatable topic, or a topic that has side A, side B, black, white, etc., all surrounding the hunting industry. So this one's not so much is it a debate today, it's more so food for thought. I was thinking about this on the way home from Nebraska, and be interested to hear your thoughts today and everybody else's. So like I said, if you're a new listener, in the YouTube comments, in our Facebook group, The Last Breath Inner Circle, let us know what you think. This is a truly interesting question that I find myself asking and myself quite often and waffling between. So our topic for the day is neighbors. You're hunting neighbors. Would you rather have, and this is the big question of the day, a hunter with 0 to little experience as a neighbor, or a person equal to or better than you at hunting? So there are lots of different little sections, segments, microcosms, questions that we could be answering, asking ourselves here. But before we get into which neighbor we would rather have, let's go into some of the top dumbest things that we have ever done while hunting, because I feel like that's going to set the stage for the inexperienced guy that just doesn't know. I have a good one to start off with, and that is the good old, we can hunt the wrong wind. Let's just cover ourselves in cover scent, and it will work, and no deer will have any idea we are here.
Yep.
Nope, wrong.
Wrong.
I feel like we've been burned by that a few times, and lesson learned on that one. You definitely have to at least be hunting a crosswind or have the wind in your favor, I feel, if a deer is downwind. We've talked about this numerous times, which, foreshadowing the future, we are going to have a 3-part segment on scent control, things that we've learned, and then a side of, the anti-side. The anti-side, like don't pay attention to scent control, and then the opposite side, which is pay very detailed attention to scent control. But I think that's one dumb mistake that we've made. There are plenty of them.
Yeah, in our youth, I don't want to say that there were gimmicks necessarily to the scent control aspect or cover scent aspect, but it's definitely it's definitely one of those things where we learned, like, man, you just can't fool a deer's nose to that degree. If they're downwind of you and you give them enough time, or if they want to, they're gonna smell you. I think the biggest thing where you can try to get iffy with the wind is when you have thermals in favor. We've talked about this before. Sometimes you have those stands during November that you need to be there. Mm-hmm. The wind isn't in your favor, but in the morning when you've got those cool evenings, but the sun hits you and rises, you can almost feel it pulling up. When you're breathing and you just see your breath go out and straight up. You've got until about 9, 10 o'clock-ish, depending on the day, that you can really get away with a lot.
Yep.
But yeah, dude, we used to douse ourselves. I mean, we used to do all kinds of things. So we kept trying to use different concoctions or different scents, and we do spray down and scent on our boots. We did all kinds of stuff, and it just never worked. And finally, I don't know, years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it clicked, and we're like, this is just not working. When you realize that wind is king, mm-hmm. then you really start seeing more deer and have more opportunities. I think another stupid thing that we did when we were younger is that we always used to think that the higher the deer stand, the better.
Yep.
I mean, it's like we would get
some pushing 30 feet.
Oh yeah. And it's like, do you get away with more? I won't argue with you that, movement and scent it is higher, yes, but man, when you get over a certain height, especially in some of your timbers, you have so much trimming to do, because now you're shooting, you don't have any lanes. You're so high.
You got to cut the canopy out.
So it's like, Jesus. And then how the hell do you cut shooting lanes for a deer stand that's 32 feet in the air? Mm-hmm. You need a pull saw to stand on the back of your side-by-side to reach the branches, Yeah. And we used to fight that. And then we realized that, you hang the stand to the tree. Where's the cover? Where's the shooting lanes? It's not always, I have 25 feet in this ladder. I have to hunt at 25 feet. Mm-hmm. So that's something that we did that we learned from, I think.
Yeah, I would say so. I think we pay more attention to access now. I mean,
big time. Whoa, big time.
When we were younger, I feel like we'd go crashing in basically wherever we wanted to be, and it was what it was.
Didn't think about how we got there. We just wanted to get there. What's shortest distance between point A and point B?
Yep. Let's cut a trail. Let's mow a trail right to our stand.
Don't do that anymore. No, that's one thing that we really. It's almost, it sucks, but it doesn't. But we used to groom our paths right to our deer stand. And was it nice in the mornings? Absolutely. It was quiet. Nothing snagged on your clothes. You didn't poke your hat or nothing. But what we've learned is that when you groom paths that are like just as nice as deer paths or your 4-wheeler paths to your deer stands, well, it telegraphs your stand, and B, the deer will eventually use it. Like,
Yep.
you don't want to shoot a deer that's right underneath you.
No.
And you don't want to give them a reason to follow your ground scent, because you're going to leave some, even if you're super scent Nazi about it. Like, you're going to have a little bit of ground scent.
That is one thing that we still try to minimize, though. Our ground scent. We've kind of ditched some things in the scent world, but I think ground scent is one thing that we still do pay attention to, because I feel like your hunt could be over before it even started if the buck you want to kill can now nab your ground scent really quick. Yeah.
Yep.
Shooting oversized broadheads with really, really, really light arrows. I think that was a stupid thing that we did. Hindsight's 20/20 on that.
Chasing speed, man.
It's worked plenty of times. We've definitely
Killed deer.
Killed a crap load of deer with a big expandable broadhead with a lighter arrow, but at times when you get up in towards the shoulder area, that's burned us. So I'm glad that we've got a heavier arrow set up now. I would say, in terms of just the practice that we do, when I was younger, I used to practice for exactly what I wanted to shoot, like 20, 30, 40. I would practice at 20, 30, 40, and that's it. But I'm glad that I shoot out to 60, 70, 80 now. So that way when a deer comes, like it did this year at 40, it feels like, this is a pretty easy shot.
Yep.
We can make this shot happen. So I feel like that regimen of practice, I just feel like most of the stuff that we do now is more thought out. Like our ground blinds, when we build them, one of us will sit on the inside in the chair that we're physically going to hunt out of to make sure that the window in the front is low enough to shoot a bow if there's a deer at 5 yards all the way out to 50 yards. So I just feel like our thought process is, just increased.
The biggest thing is just I think like anybody, I don't care if you're talking about bow hunting or if you're talking about basketball, just to be a student of the game and continue to learn. So we could go on and on about how many times we have fucked up when we've hunted, but the best thing, and like I said, I don't care any aspect of your life, whether it's your relationships, your career, your hobbies. As long as you understand where you've messed up, adapt and overcome and keep pushing forward, you're going to be more successful than you were yesterday. So getting into that, the whole hunter thing, I know my answer.
I got a question for you before you dive in.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest advantage is to having an inexperienced hunter as a neighbor?
So, and I don't want to, I'm no better than any man. I don't want to come across as condescending here, but like an inexperienced or kind of, again, like the hobbyist hunter, there's tons of them and we love you. Seriously. You guys make up a huge majority of us, and any hunter is a friend of mine. But I'm talking kind of like the guy that maybe doesn't target deer yet, or maybe he really just looks forward to a couple weekends a year. Like you said, somebody who's maybe just hasn't quite gotten bit real bad yet. I think the biggest advantage to that is that two things. First off, all the mistakes that we made, they're probably running into some of those issues, because the mistakes that we've made younger years in our early years of hunting caused us deer, plain and simple. Not just big bucks, deer, period. And then so he's probably getting less opportunities than somebody more experienced. And then when you dive into like the point in life where we are, that we're trying to hunt a certain age class of deer, or even a specific deer, they're probably not either. So I think that somebody that's possibly more inexperienced than us, they're probably going to have less opportunities, and therefore the opportunities that they do have, they're probably going to take. And so what I mean by that is that they're probably, since they're having less opportunities behind the gun or the bow, that when one presents itself, they're going to be opportunistic and take it, not wait for said big deer. Now that can be counterproductive, and we'll get into that. But they're just happy to be, man, they're like excited. They've seen a deer, they have it in range, they got a shot at it, or they killed it. Like, they're really happy. And everybody should be at that point in stage of your hunting career, right? The difference between them and us is like, we pass 100 times more deer than we kill a year. Seriously.
Yep.
I would say that.
Pretty accurate, yeah.
In the course of a season, considering I have killed one deer this year, I bet that I'll have throughout everything, maybe not 100, probably 50, especially when you count gun opportunities. Yeah, I mean, I've probably passed 50 different deer this season and harvested one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the difference is, and again, I hope I don't come across as condescending or
that's
bigoted.
not the goal. That's not the goal of this at all. We're not saying that an inexperienced hunter is not going to be a good hunter in the future at all.
No.
We've, like
we were
said,
there.
we were there. I don't know for how many years we did stupid moronic shit that we thought would work but figured out we didn't. So that's another big lesson to be learned here is like, I feel like the biggest piece of advice I could give to a person that's in the inexperienced category that's just starting would be a scientist. Don't necessarily believe every single thing you read. Don't let every single piece of advice from every single hunter. Don't try to make that all work. I listen to a lot of podcasts on hunting strategies, and if you try to take into consideration the moon, the wind, hunting thermals, hunting bedding, and you try to take all of these really niche things that all these hunters are really good at. Like if there's one thing I feel like that we're good at that we could provide insight on, it is hunting a scrape. But if you wait to hunt a scrape on an October cold front,
on a red moon,
when the wind is right, on the blah 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 side of doe bedding, on a time when you've got that big buck daylighted on camera, then you may never hunt. All those things may never cross, and you may never actually go into the woods. So don't let all those things bog you down. You have to be in the woods to kill a deer.
Mm-hmm.
Take a couple different things, take a couple different schools of thought, latch on to one or two of those.
Try it if it
works.
Great. If not, move on to the next one.
And then keep observing for yourself, keep learning, keep thinking about all of these things, taking them into consideration. I had that kind of same thing written down here. He's probably not going to shoot the big buck. That's the biggest advantage of hunting next to the more inexperienced hunter. He's going to have to get more so lucky to kill the big one than anything. I have another big advantage I was thinking of, though, and there's a real good advantage to having an inexperienced hunter as a neighbor down the road. Here's why. I think that 5 to 10 years from then, if you can mentor that guy and get on the same game plan and let him get through his killing years, then you may have a neighbor that's got the same mindset as you. Whereas the experienced hunter, just because somebody's an experienced hunter does not mean, and I have found that the more experienced a hunter is, the less apt they are to take advice from people. The more opinionated they are. So you've got a real chance with the inexperienced guy to mold him into saying, all right, we're both hunting this combined 200-acre chunk here. I've got a couple people hunting with me. You've got a couple people hunting with you. If we all get on the same page here, we could have something truly special. Whereas if the other guy across the fence who's been hunting for 15, 20, 30 years doesn't want to have that, doesn't want to hear you out, then you might just be butting heads the entire time. And it is what it is. Yeah, we'll get into the advantages and disadvantages. We're not saying that you have to have the same mindset as your neighbor, but if you guys are on the same page, then I feel like your deer will greatly benefit from that. The quality of bucks you'll be taking will greatly benefit from that. So that was another one that I thought was an advantage, is that you could kind of mold them, kind of give back and mentor them, so to speak. What about the biggest disadvantages of having the inexperienced hunter as a neighbor?
So I think that there's a couple. One of them being that they don't understand the dynamics of like population density and age structure. And again, we went through it. We call it typically like the bloodlust phase of hunting, and that's not the first couple years because you're really not killing yet. You're learning, and it's not your vet years. It's the kind of tweener years where now you're getting a taste. And you're killing deer, and now it's like, dude, I'm gonna pile them up, right? It's that time of time in a hunter's career typically where, I think you kill the most bucks quickly than normal, just because now you're starting to kind of learn trails and movement and all these things, and it's putting you into position to kill a lot of does, to kill a lot of the more immature bucks. And I hope I'm not coming across as like I said, condescending, but it's true. It's just easier to kill 2 and 3 year old deer, bucks specifically, because they're horny teenagers. They're running around. They're not
more
as
vulnerable.
Right. So I feel like that's the biggest hindrance, is that if you're on a management strategy, well, you can only do so much. Just like you said, most people hunt 40, 60, 80, if you're blessed, 120, or bigger. And you can't control the whole herd. Everybody runs into this. And so that's the biggest issue of like having somebody that's maybe a little less inexperienced. And because of that, they'll be more opportunistic, like I said. And with that, you're going to probably lose some of your true quote unquote up and comers, right? The deer that you're like, man, I know it's his biggest deer and that's awesome, but God, he just won more year. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I think that's an issue. And then the other one is just kind of like the pressure. As we alluded to, we made a lot of mistakes when we were younger, and we educated a lot of deer. Like if we didn't know who our neighbors were at that time, but if they were diehards, they weren't going, Jesus Christ, these deer are like walking on pins and needles right now. Well,
it's October 14th. Why are these deer spooky already?
Yeah, it's because me and you were jackasses, and every day after school, we're going out hunting immediately and didn't pay no attention to the wind, and we were using doe estrus on the 10th of October, and you know what I mean? Like, and so now all of a sudden, these big deer are just like, whoa, that, or all the deer. The thing though, there's a caveat to that, because if your neighbor is really kind of doing a lot of stuff over on the other side of the fence, there's a chance that you could migrate some of your deer over onto your farm. That being said, though, you can only house so many deer. Especially when it comes to mature deer, they're only going to put up with each other so long. Like that theory has a small caveat to it, but really it's not like you have 50 deer in your mile, you hunt half the mile, they hunt the other half, and they start pushing and running and everything. It's like now all your deer move over. No, it's not true. It's not how it works. But there is that silver lining there. So I think that's the two things. A, they don't mind the age structure and the dynamics to that, the ability to hunt the bigger deer. They're not quite there yet. And B, they do add that tone of like, I don't want to reuse the word pressure, but you know what I mean? They're just, they're educating all those deer that, hey, we're being hunted now. Like we got to walk a fine line.
Yeah, and I like what you said about that. I feel like a couple of the places that we've hunted, in these later last 4 to 5 years, when we get on there, we're just kind of like ghosts, and deer don't really know what hit them that first year, just because we're conscious about a lot of different things, and those that hunted a previous were maybe not so. So I like what you said about that, and I think the quote of the day for this point is, your inexperienced guys, they're going to kill a big buck every once in a while, and that's good. I'm glad for the day that happens, but the day that they kill, they're not going to kill a big one every year, but they can kill a big one before he's big. Is the issue there. So I thought that they may misjudge the time of year. So if you've got a, more inexperienced hunter in the first forky they see with their nose to the ground early in October, they could misjudge that. Ruts on, we always see that pop up on Facebook, and, the middle of October, ruts on, things like that. Poor access, poor wind direction. The intel that they give you will be poor. You'll have to take it with a grain of salt. And, I think there is a lot of value in that killing time. Like you said, I don't care what the person's killing, but for the first like 4, 5, 6 years, 7 years of somebody's, especially like bow hunting career is kind of what we're alluding to. I feel like you've got to shoot the piss out of stuff.
Yeah,
and learn like, okay, if a deer's got the gate closed, meaning that front shoulder to you, if it's back and covering the heart, let's wait for it to open up. And then let's pop them when more of the ribs are exposed. Or
stopping deer, not stopping deer.
not stopping deer. There's a deer on a lope. There's a deer running in.
Yep.
And just all those things. And I feel like those experiences are all going to multiply, add up, stack up in your favor. And then you get to the position where you're like 10, 15 years to hunting in, and you're there's a deer you want to kill coming down the trail. There's a 99.9% chance that he's going to leave bleeding and die.
I think it is important there. I hate the sense that now the younger, especially the kids that we've taken out, that they immediately they get into hunting, and now all of a sudden they want to go from like buying your first deer tag to killing big bucks. and that is not a linear progression.
And I think that's due to the culture that hunting is perpetuating, which kind of sucks. It's advantageous and non-advantageous. It's advantageous for us because if the more people that are killing big deer, the less people that are going to be killing little deer. But I feel like what makes my heart break a little bit is, like, I feel like most hunting starts in a family. I think you and I are atypical in the fact that we kind of taught ourselves, but typically a uncle, a dad, a grandpa, some male figure, typically, no offense to the ladies listening, but about 96% of American hunters are men. And I feel like if you have that kid and he's seeing grandpa, dad, uncle shoot a big buck, shoot a big buck, shoot a big buck, and then he kills a buck, and then everybody's not quite as jazzed about it or not quite as excited about it, I feel like, that could really hurt them long term and kind of try to force them into this stage that you're talking about, where they're not only waiting for an opportunity at the wrong time of their hunting life, but putting more pressure on themselves that's the only thing they're going to shoot. And so that I've heard stories, about a guy who's killed. Jake and I were actually talking about this. This kid has killed, he's 21 years old. He's killed a buck when he's 14, and then he waited until he was 21, and he shot a 180. So he's killed 2 bucks in 7 or 8 years. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but man, these deer on the wall right here, like, everybody, I feel like, should
deserves those deer.
Yeah, everybody should pay their dues, pay respects, and more than anything, gather the experience on shooting horned bucks earlier in their career, I feel.
And so the flip side, we'll get into the experience side of this. I think that is on the experienced outdoorsman to understand that
Yep.
As frustrating as it is sometimes that your neighbors are going to shoot some of those younger deer, like, understand who your neighbor is and where they're at, because we were there once, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
and everyone has been. And
like I said, it can be frustrating because, God, that was the 3-year-old that had the splits. He's going to look awesome. That kid just got, or that
his
hunter,
biggest deer.
It's not even a kid, like Alan, perfect. This is the biggest buck I've ever seen. I've never shot a deer with a split. I've never shot a deer with double fork. I never shot all these things. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying it's not going to sting. It's not going to suck.
There's 2 ways to take that scenario, though. You could either grit your teeth, give him a call, and say, congratulations, way to go, I'm pumped for you. Or you could be a bitch about it, not say anything,
and just put him down and totally ruin it for him. So there's only one scenario in which one person feels good, and there's 2. In the other scenario, both of you feel bad. You're pissed off, and you took that out on him, and now he feels bad. So both of you lose in that scenario. At least in the other scenario, when he shoots that deer, if you say him, congratulations, way to go, send him a text, send him a thumbs up, whatever, then at least he feels good. So now the flip side, experienced, right?
Yeah. So what's the biggest advantage of having the stud next door? So now we've transitioned a little bit. So now instead of those mirror image of 40 acres or 50 acres that people are hunting, now instead of on the 40 or 50 next door,
you got Matt Bartlett or Clark Cummings.
Matt or Clark. So in my opinion, I think that is the biggest advantage of one of those guys being next door is the age class of deer they're going to shoot is going to be the big ones, and they're going to probably manage does, and they're probably going to have population management in the back of their head.
So I think that's the number one biggest advantage that I can see is that you would be able to communicate at the same level. Kind of like if I were to go talk to a Harvard professor about astrology right now, he'd blow me out of the freaking water, So we wouldn't be on the same parallel to be able to talk about stuff. But like if like with Clark or Matt or something, I would feel way more comfortable to share him pictures of, say, a 4-year-old. Hey man, like, I'll give you my word. Like, I know this deer looks really nice, but I'm going to pass him. I'm not going to tell you that you can't. I'm never going to be the guy to tell you what you can and can't kill, but just know in faith that this deer won't be killed by my party this year, And then he agrees. I think that potentially, maybe, right?
Potentially.
That's the nicest thing, that you can have that high level of thought dialogue when it comes to hunting. I mean, as ironic as that sounds, right? Most people think it's barbaric.
Yeah.
But like, like you said, that management strategy where, I think you can collectively, like, hey, it's up to the best man, right? Like, good luck, but we'll just still text you and say, back and forth. I think you'll be able to have that kind of communication that is sometimes not quite there. And you have to be friendly with them, obviously, but considering that they see the value in you as a neighbor and you see the value as them in the neighbor, in the sense that your deer hopefully reach their true potential. I mean, that's kind of cool. I mean, we don't have anything like that right now. But I think it's rare. I think it is rare. But that
got a couple good neighbors.
Yeah,
a couple.
But not like the neighbor, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like they hunt next to us or something, but it's not like
Sure.
it's like we hunt this piece, you hunt this piece, and collectively we kind of manage it. So
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's a big advantage, because then you can do that, and then you can have, like I said, that little bit of trust. I don't want to say that you shouldn't not trust like somebody that hasn't quite earned their stripes.
Well,
so
I
to
think
speak.
the intel will be more valuable. That everything that guy's telling you to a point, unless they're devious and are trying to, unless they're that kind of neighbor that doesn't want you to shoot their deer, quote unquote, which I don't like when people say that anyway, just because they're wild animals. And,
what I was getting at is like let's say a hunter that hasn't killed like a 150-inch deer yet. And you have a 3-year-old that's like, holy crap, this could be the big one. I would be like, ooh, goodness. Like, I know that this is probably one of the biggest deer he's ever seen or would have be able to kill.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hesitant to share this picture with him now, because I wouldn't expect him to not kill it, right?
Yep.
Like there's that type of confliction with it, where with an experienced hunter, he understands where it could be.
Mm-hmm.
But, it'd be like I said, the 15, 16, 18-year-old kid that's like, and you're like, hey, man, this deer is only 3 years old. And he's like, okay, cool. And then he like looks to his buddy. He's like, they're freaking crazy if they think I'm not going to shoot that.
Yep.
Now, same thing, right? I mean, that'd be like somebody sending you a picture of a 200-inch deer and saying like, dude, he's only 4. We need to leave him another year.
Yep.
I don't know. There is a small fraction of hunters that would be like, you're right.
I really only know like 2 or 3 of them in America.
Right.
that would pass on a deer.
Now, the negative side, though, I mean, what other advantages do you see?
Advantages that I see, the intel and the information gained, the lessons learned from him will be valuable. If if he texts you like, hey, the big one, saw him at 80 yards dogging a doe tonight on like the 29th of October, that's a valuable piece of information,
right,
given, realistically, like if you've got a neighbor and they send you a text or a piece of intel, you can figure out pretty quickly, at least in Illinois, when the ground is so fragmented, so small, on any aerial map, Google Maps, where they're at and how they may play into a hunt in the near future that you have. So I think the intel is one big benefit. The sex ratio may be improved. The overall deer herd health. Typically, the guy that's more inexperienced is going to go through the lesson of hard knocks as it comes to food plotting, like us. Like, yeah, let's go and broadcast soybeans out on the soil. We don't have to pay any attention to row spacing, whether or not the, deer mow it down early season, and you get these crappy food plots. But I feel like the experienced guy will have gone through the trials and tribulations of planting somewhere in something that's going to get flooded, planting, not getting their shit in the ground in time to beat the drought, to get that last rain that they need to push their corn through the soil, stuff like that. And I feel like the overall health of the deer will benefit by having another one of those neighbors, because if the deer aren't hanging out necessarily all on your property, if they could be hanging out on a neighbor of your same goals property that's next door, and they can live through the winter and live to see a next deer, live through another gun season, etc., then that's a win for both parties involved. And like I said, I feel like the biggest value though is that your goals are going to be the same, but that's the other thing though. It's like
it's the double-edged sword.
It's the double-edged sword, because all of a sudden, especially as it pertains to like Matt and Clark, right? Two of the I don't know anybody that has more Pope and Young kills at an early age than Matt. And Clark, I don't remember the last time that Clark didn't buck out with a bow.
Yeah.
So an experienced guy is going to know that there, in my opinion, there is one factor that dictates how many opportunities a guy will get in a season. And they could be really, really, really efficient. And I'm not saying they couldn't be, but the fact of the matter is that the biggest buck killers that are the most consistent that I personally know take a massive amount of time off between October 27th every year and November 20th. And it is what it is. And if you can't take that time off, then that sucks to be you, because they're going to be sitting in that tree every day. And if you've got a big deer over there that they want to kill, they're going to put the time in to do it.
Right.
I think this year Matt sat 9 hunts in a row consecutively in the pasture.
For Hansen.
9 days. 9 days, dark to dark, mostly, in a row. I mean, there's not a lot of people, that would do that, period. But
not a lot of people that can, like
not
you
a lot
said.
of people that can, given their work schedule. But I feel like the scary thing about those kind of hunters is they're going to take that time off. They're gonna it's the biggest priority in their life. Hunting's not a hobby to them. It's not a thing where they go and pick their gun up the week before season or their bow up and shoot a group at 20 and now they're good. They've been shooting their bow since May.
Yeah.
They've been putting in food plots. They've been hanging up. Their stands are already well advanced, hung before the season. Their trail cameras have been zinging and popping off since June. They know the deer, probably have known him for 3 or 4 years. They have all that past intel. They're going to use all of that. They're going to try to go drill down and kill that deer. So it's mano-y-mano at that point. It's who can get in front of them, who can seal the deal first. And there's, obviously some big advantages of that, but the disadvantage is that it takes a very specific person, I feel like, to kill those deer consistently year after year, and typically they're pretty good at it, and they're probably going to get it done.
Yep.
There's a good chance that they could. So I feel like that's the disadvantage.
That is. Absolutely. I mean, so not that we shy from competition, but the thing that sucks with deer hunting is that you're never guaranteed it, man. We've talked about this before in other podcasts. It just now all of a sudden, you don't have any opportunity for error. Not that you do before, but
that one opportunity you get, you may not get another one.
No, and more times than not, I mean, Matt said this before. He's like, the first time I see a deer that I want to kill, usually it's the last time I see him. I mean, there's very few times where you have quote-unquote encounters after encounter, opportunity after opportunity, but it just, the thing that would be hard on me mentally is just knowing, dude, his days are numbered, and your neighbor's probably thinking the same thing, right? Like, holy shit,
he's over
every
there again.
single day you get another picture of him, you're like, God damn, it's another day you made it.
Yep.
And then like if you saw him parked, you're going, son of a bitch, he's hunting, Jimmy's or whatever that deer is, and it just, I don't know, we haven't had that yet. Like you said, we have a couple neighbors that are very good hunters. I don't want to dismiss it, but it's not everyone. It's not like this whole side and us. It's so it's interesting. I'll tell you right now. I mean, just to get through it, I would rather take an inexperienced hunter just for my mental sanctitude. Like, I'm serious. Like,
that's the big question of the day, is it not?
Because like gun season, we talk about it a lot. You hear shots. And you're like, oh, but if I had Clark or Matt next door to me and I knew, he's got a nice ass food plot over there and
it's gun season
and you
There's
hear that
only
single
one
crack, it's like, well, I better text him and see who he killed.
That's him. He's not going to be killing a doe on the second night of gun season right at last light. Like that's not a kind of deer that person like that kills. They're waiting for the deer.
Right. So, I don't know. I think there's positives and negatives to both, man. I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages to both. There's no black or white answer, but I'll just be straight up honest. I don't want to be neighbors with Matt. I don't want to be neighbors with Clark Cummings. I don't want to be neighbors with the Drurys. I mean, with the Lakoskis. There's a reason why we think so highly of them. I mean, I tip my hat to them. I acknowledge them. I look up to them.
Yep.
So it's for it's like, I guess it's kind of like saying I love football, but I don't want to play against an NFL player. I want to feel like a king and go down to 2A state playoffs and play,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that's me being just a total bitch and not wanting to play the best of the best, but man, you would have to elevate your game to
I feel Matt and Clark though are on even a different playing field than you and I are, just with that amount of
time.
I that's what scares me the most about either of them is that if Clark's got to sit 20 days dark to dark, 20 days.
He'll do it.
We've talked about it before. If you're in the right tree at the right time,
yeah.
you probably get an opportunity. And he's proven, and Matt's proven time and time again that can happen. I think that in terms of the neighbors, though, here's what I know. All right, so 2 years ago, we had 2 3-year-old bucks. We got Hope and TJ for the sake of our story here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Hope and TJ at 3. TJ probably, I don't know. Like I said, I've said it before in podcasts. I like score of deer because it gives people a way to quantify the word big. Past that, I don't really have a use for it or care about it. But I would say for sake of this story that we're going to break down right now, TJ's probably a 135. 2 years ago at 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
135 class 10. This year at 4, he's probably
155.
155. Really nice deer. He's got multiple stickers. He's got like 12 scoreable points, I think.
He's a mainframe 5x6, and he's got a kicker off of his right G2.
Okay, so yeah, he's a big deer.
He's beautiful.
He's a beautiful deer. Hope. I have a shed off of Hope, and I would say last year as a 3-year-old, probably 120.
Mm-hmm. 120 inch 10.
This year, probably 145. Really tall. Probably got 11 or.
He definitely put on the most growth between those two. His frame really boxed out too. Without a doubt, it's the same deer.
Boxy and really tall.
So it'll be just so cool to watch and see what they do.
And what I bring up those deer for is both of our resident deer that we have not hunted
last year,
this year, they made it both through when they were 3.
Mm-hmm.
They made it both through when they were 4, with an intensive amount of hunting pressure
around us.
So my thing is, just because you've got a hunter that is a good hunter does not necessarily, we've said it a million times, doesn't guarantee him on opportunity. What I think takes it to the next level with Matt and Clark, though, is that amount of time off. I know plenty of hunters every year that I would consider to be a good hunter that don't fill a tag,
Yeah.
There's plenty of them that don't. And that is, that's happened to me before. That's totally fine. But I don't believe just because there's a good hunter next door to you doesn't necessarily guarantee him an opportunity at 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old buck every year. Unless they're like I said, that's what scares me about Matt and Clark, having them as a neighbor, is they have the time to put in to those deer. So I feel like if it was somebody like you and I would be more apt to take the neighbor that was kind of on our same mindset. But like I said, with somebody that has the time off, or somebody that has a career that is forgiving enough or liquid enough to make them okay to hunt every afternoon. It doesn't even have to be all the days off. Just getting the time off when they need it. You know what I'm saying? Like if there's massive cold fronts in October, they can be like, "Hey, I'm going to work from home, quote unquote, this afternoon," and send text from an email so they can be there for that last 20 minutes on their food plot that's right next to the bedding area that they built, and they can have that opportunity. So it doesn't necessarily mean that a person's got to take 3 weeks in November off every year. That's not what I'm saying. It's just I feel like I would take that other neighbor as long as they were kind of bound a little bit more like you and I, rather than Matt and Clark, just because they would be on the same page. And when push comes to shove, I'm not to the point where I'm targeting the deer yet, is why I answer it that way. I'm not targeting a specific deer. We're bracketing the 3 or 4 deer on each farm that we hunt that we believe to be 4 or 5, and we're going after those deer. And if we tag any one of them, we're happy with that. So I think my answer would be a little different if I was targeting the deer and they killed the biggest deer every year. Well, that would be the deer. Therefore, my answer would change. But since I'm in the stage where I'm not hunting the deer, I'm hunting a group of deer we're hunting like next year, I'm sure there will be a deer or two at the Heartbeat Farm that are like nice bucks. I'd be happy to tag any one of them, for like, yep, this deer's on the list, this deer's not, this deer's on the list, this deer's not. I'm gonna be happy to tag those deer. If I don't kill TJ next year, you don't kill TJ, but we kill Hope, that's gonna still be a win.
Yeah.
So just because there's a person that's gonna kill the deer every year doesn't mean there's not big bucks in the area. And I'm not to the point in my hunting career yet where I'm targeting the lone ranger 172-inch deer with a drop tine, blah, 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 because he's huge and that's all I can think about, and this, that, and the other. And, the stories about big bucks that we all hear. I'm targeting 3 or 4. So I think my answer would change. So it kind of depends. But I would say I would take the opposite end of the coin, and I would go with the more experienced guy. Any other thoughts on that?
No.
Okay. Would you rather time? Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have the stud neighbor kill your number 1 deer every year, or have the inexperienced deer kill your number 1 grower buck every year?
Inexperienced deer. Kill the inexperienced, because the number 1, every year he's getting toast.
Yeah.
I mean, not because the number 1 grower is not my number 1 deer. Does that make sense? No. Yeah. Just like this year. Let's look at Eckert's.
Yep. Number 2. Shoot 4 bucks out of state in a season, or the biggest 1 deer you were chasing at home.
4 bucks. Never killed 4 deer in 4 bucks in one season.
That's what I would do.
I've never killed 4 like quote unquote wall hanger or trophy animal. You know what I mean? I think the best year I've ever had was I killed an antelope, killed Josh, killed Tano. That was 3.
Yeah.
Best year.
Yep. Yeah, 4 bucks. I feel like we've had this conversation before, like, your outdoor celebrity, quote unquote, that goes and hunts Kansas and Iowa and Illinois and Indiana and Kentucky and Tennessee and Pennsylvania and Ohio.
Yeah, they do their little tour.
Yeah, they do their little tour around the Midwest for whitetails. I feel like at a point, I wonder if you would almost get desensitized to it. Like Lee Lakoski, holy crap. He's so desensitized to seeing a 170-inch deer because they feed right beneath his feet in his food plots. They don't get him off like a 200-inch deer. But yeah, I mean, he's passing them on his show. It's just it's crazy to me because when that first good deer steps out, like,
right,
I would have. Yep. That big one's not showing up. You know why? Because when the deer I shot's blowing the field, he's scaring the 200-incher back into the timber. Like I would never get an opportunity to kill a deer like that if I was hunting on his farm, because it would be dead and over with by the time the first good buck stepped out. So, I would agree with you on that. I wonder what a person like that would say, like if they'd become desensitized to it. We should try to get somebody like that on here.
I don't think so, because I think if you got desensitized to it, why would you keep doing it?
I don't know.
I just think they've elevated the bar so high. They've set, like, you will use Lee again as a reference. He's passing a 170-inch deer for the deer. He's at a point in his career where he's hunting a buck.
Yep.
We're far from that.
Right. Number 3, would you rather eat Taco Bell or McDonald's?
Oh.
Yeah.
Just to please you, Taco Bell.
Yeah. Nacho fries are back, baby. Number 4, would you rather not go to the gym all year long or eat tag soup next fall? That's a hard one for you.
Oh my God.
That's a hard one. You're gonna have to think about that one.
Can I work out at home?
Nope.
I cannot work out at all?
Nope. Or eat tag soup. Complete tag soup. We're not talking buck tag soup. We're not talking antelope tag soup. We're talking no big game animals, buck or doe, either gender, don't care, eating tag soup, not releasing an arrow, not firing a gun. If you do, you miss. So that's a hard one for you.
Oh my God. That's like the ultimate hard one.
It is. I thought of that last night when I was driving home, and I was like, oh, that's going to be tough. I wonder how he's going to answer that one.
Can I kill coyotes?
No.
What?
You just can't.
So I can't hunt anything?
You just can't kill anything. I mean, you can go hunting. You're just gonna miss the shit out of stuff.
But okay, so I'll be able to film you or Logan or whoever all year long.
Yeah, but you're not gonna kill.
I'm going to the gym.
All right.
I'm not giving up the gym.
Okay.
I would. I don't even want to know what I would look like. I
Probably
feel
like a little
skinny.
fat guy with big biceps.
I would not let myself get fat. Oh, I would. God, I'd be so pathetic. Yeah, I would just film the hell out of everybody and go fishing.
Yeah, there you go. Go fishing. Okay, so big news. We booked it July 23rd. We've said it a couple times, but we're nailing it down. July 23rd. That is the date of the launch party this year. For those of you that have not gone to the launch party ever, are a new listener, are from Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, any adjacent state touching Illinois, Wisconsin. We've had people from basically everywhere show up to go to this. Lots of people are getting a hotel for this room. It's going to be bigger and better than ever. Basically what the launch party is. We unveil our new season before it hits YouTube, before it hits Carbon TV, before it hits Amazon Prime, all of that stuff. And you guys get to see it. We'll show 3 or 4 of our best episodes. And in addition to that, we bring about $8,000 to $15,000 worth of free gear with us to the party. We give it all away for free. The tickets are free. You just have to either get one from a buddy, pick one up from a drop-off location, which we will come out with that in a couple months as we near closer to the show. The other cool thing,
Free
I guess,
beer.
is free beer, and we added a new taxidermy display. 2 years ago was our first.
Loaded.
It's going to be loaded. The shitter is going to be officially full, as Uncle Eddie would say, next year, because we have $15, all $15 slots locked in with Wayne Tompkins at Tompkins Taxidermy. So 15 of our friends have used our code BFD20. So if you want to get in on that next hunting season, make sure you do that with Wayne, because we've had to tell 5 or 10 people no just because the slots are all filled up. Now still go to Wayne, because you're going to get taxidermy that's awesome, done
fast,
done before your next deer season, money back guarantee. So that's awesome. So you should definitely still go and visit Wayne, not just because of the service, but because he's a great human being, and so is Michael. But this year there will be $15 there alone from the people that used our code, and there will be another 8 animals there, I believe, from the ones that we killed that will be on display. So we'll have between 20 and 25 animals hanging up there, like our own little mini deer show. So if you came to the last launch party, you would have seen our 15 deer that we had. So we're adding another 10 this year, which is going to be awesome.
There are some gorgeous
big deer.
Gorgeous deer from multiple states too.
Yep.
Herbert Long brought one from Missouri, man.
Yeah.
No, he was the first one in.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, it's always humbling when we go to hang out at Wayne's, because you think like, man, I shot a good buck this year, but dude, people kill giant deer in our area. They do, man. They just hammer the hell out of them. And like I said, at this launch party, there are going to be some awesome deer that our peers have shot. You know, so you'll be able to see them in person, debuted there on top of all, some of the animals you watch killed, you'll be able to see hanging on the freaking rack. And it's a great time. We can't preface it enough. We've got amazing support from some local sponsors, and then obviously the companies that we work with as a show always come through. We give out tons of gear. It's just a freaking amazing time. We pack the theater full of like-minded, God-fearing, gun-loving hunters and huntresses that just appreciate what we do. The atmosphere is electric. We hope you guys can all make it. Well, more details to come, but like you said, it's 23rd. It's a Friday. Make sure you get there.
Yep. If you're a person that's been there before and you want to do us a solid, bring a buddy this year or tell them how much fun you had at the launch party that we had in 2019, because that year was crazy. And we plan on doubling that this year with the stuff that we're going to do on radio advertisements and with some other podcasts. And
the other thing to know too is that we got this new venue because we filled up the other one. And I mean, I don't know, projections show that it's going to be full. We can only print so many tickets. I mean, it's a first come, first serve basis, like majority of things that we do.
Yeah, we want you to know, again, that it's free. We're not trying to make a buck off you. It's just a big give back to the outdoor community.
To our fans and followers and supporters. That's who it's for.
It's an awesome night. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, once we drop those locations, just make sure you grab a ticket for you and your wife, or you and your son or daughter and your buddies. Don't be gluttonous with them, because if you take 20 and you only use 5, you're taking some seats away from other people. But it is a It is a limited capacity event. And mind you, I say that because there's several thousand people that can attend. But like I said, if our projections hold true, it'll be a rockin' night.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's enough about the launch party. Keep an eye out for Last Breath Live coming out on Wednesday. Alan Yates, our buddy from Chicago, came down, smacked a deer down with Garrett. The kill shot is absolutely awesome, and you're going to want to see that coming down the pipe in slow-mo. And that will be coming to our YouTube channel on Wednesday, just with all the other Last Breath Lives at 7 p.m. Real quick here at the end, if you haven't checked out our Last Breath Inner Circle, that is the Facebook group that Garrett started. That's where we drop all of our information, things like that. And it's just a really good community of people that just enjoy hunting.
And
there's
speaking of
there's a lot of positivity and uplift in there, not a lot of beat down and FUs. So we really like that group, and I've become friends with quite a few people in that group personally, the ones that I talk to weekly, daily, stuff like that. So go hop in there. Again, that's the Last Breath Inner Circle on Facebook.
I was going to say, speaking of the launch party, that group will be the first to know when and where the tickets are available.
Yep.
So we're going to make sure and take care of those people first. But other than that, man, happy Monday.
Yep.
Back to work, y'all.
Yep, that's a good hunt cast. Anything before we get off here?
No, still a couple weeks left of season. I mean, Parker Olson shot a freaking stud this last weekend, so big deer still are vulnerable. Get out there and kill them.
All right, you heard it there first. Don't waste it.